Hello? 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 Is it working? Look at all the... I got... We are... I tried to pick a good book reading location. I've also changed the weather to good book reading weather. Oh, I hope I'll be able to read some books. This is just gonna be a short book reading stream. Probably not super long because I don't want to wear out my voice or anything. I just wanted to do something like this for a while, so I just need a break from gaming. Too much gaming. I can be too sweaty. But hello, dear Simono. Hello, Romeo. Yes, we'll be doing a book reading. I don't know if I would call it ASMR. I don't really know what ASMR is nowadays, to be honest, but yeah, I couldn't really, like, this doesn't really make a fire crackling sound, but I think the rain at least, the rain is a nice sound effect. And if it stops raining, I will keep making it rain. You cannot, the weather, the weather is not allowed to change, it must be rain. Because, I figured out how to use the change weather console. It's actually not too difficult to change the weather in Morrowind. You just set it to the region, and then you set it to the weather type. I think I could even make it snow if I wanted to. Didn't stop raining, did it? I feel like it got quieter. The books are getting wet. No, there's a... Wait, it stopped raining! Ah! Rain! Faster! I think it'll start raining again soon. Oh, hang on, we gotta wait for it to rain again, because if I start reading a book, time will freeze and it won't be raining anymore. So just give me a minute. The command is not instantaneous. It takes a little bit of time to rain. Oh, we're in Seydanin, by the way, because there's a nice little lighthouse here. Hello, Slam Pasta. The books, don't worry. They're all waterproof. Yes. We have come up with, solutions to this. Oh, I can hear the fire crackle sound. You can hear that, right? It's like a fire crackle sound. Isn't it raining? Come on! I guess this is good enough. Or just give me 1 minute. I swear. I swear this command was working earlier. I swear. It should work. It should work. Hang on. There's no way. Yeah, it's... For sure it's Azura's Coast region. Change weather Azura's Coast region 4. Oh, hello. Nayune. Okay. Alright, let me just give it 1 more minute. Okay. I swear to you guys. It will start raining. Just watch the sky. It will start raining. No, it was raining earlier. It worked earlier. Where? I mean, at least we have the... I can actually hear the fireplace ambience now. So I think for the first book, we're gonna read, just do a simple one, which is A Short History of Morrowind. I can't believe this. The weather fails me. I really needed Morrowind. I needed Martinfell weather. I needed you to cooperate for my ASMR. My book, it's not ASMR. Ah, you're right. Yes, we should get some glasses for book reading. I have these very round glasses, so... There we go. Okay. Yes. Let us do some book reading. Are they too big? They're like covering my face. Hang on, let me make them a little bit smaller. Hard to get glasses to be the right size. Okay. Oh, yes, I will also put a small lizard here to accompany us in the book reading. Okay, now, if we could just get the weather to cooperate, this would be perfect. Oh, I don't know, I don't understand. Maybe I queued it too many times, and that's why. Maybe it's because I queued it too many times. Hang on, if I just load the quick save, it should still be raining, I think. Okay, there we go, Alright, let's do it. Let's read A Short History of Morrowind. Alright, yes, enough stalling. Yes. Can't read without a lizard. He's not even looking at this. He's not even looking at the book. What is this guy doing? What is he doing? Alright. Let's all learn about A Short History of Morrowind by Jeanette Stitz. Yes, so you guys can review the history of Morrowind just in case you didn't remember. I also would like to review the history of Morrowind, and then maybe we'll read an actual story. Okay, so from the introduction. Led by the legendary prophet Vela, the ancestors of the Dunmer, exiles from Altmer cultures in present-day Somerset Isle, came to the region of Morrowind. In earliest times, the Dunmer were harassed or dominated by Nord Sea raiders. When the scattered Dunmer tribes consolidated into the predecessors of the modern Great House clans, they threw out the Nord's oppressors and successfully resisted further incursions. The ancient ancestor worship of the tribes was in time superseded by the monolithic tribunal temple theocracy, and the Dunmer grew into a great nation called Resdain. Resdain was Resdain was the previous name of Morrowind, I think. Resdain was the last of the provinces to submit to Tiber Septim. Like Black Marsh, it was never successfully invaded and was peacefully incorporated by treaty into the Empire as the province of Morrowind. Wait, so it was called Morrowind only after it joined the Empire? Actually, I didn't know that. No, I'm not a Morrowind historian VTuber. Actually, most of the books I got here are just stories, not history books. Because I thought I might get tired reading history books, because they're basically textbooks. What about Morrowind? But yeah, I do want to make sure I brush up on the lore. You feel like you get more out of the game if you understand the context of what's going on. Oh, good evening. Oh, hello, Mew. Good evening as well. Yes, good afternoon, morning, etc. to everyone. Oh, glasses are cute. Thank you. Alright, let's continue. Almost 4 centuries after the coming of the Imperial Legions, Morrowind is still occupied by Imperial Legions. Kind of repetitive. You said it twice in the same sentence. With a figurehead Imperial King, though the Empire has reserved most functions of the traditional local government to the ruling councils of the 5 great houses. On Vardenfell District, in 3E414, Vardenfell territory, previously a temple preserve, under Imperial protection, was reorganized as an Imperial Provincial District. Vardenfell had been maintained I'm sorry. I'll try to stop tripping over words. Vardenfell had been maintained as a preserve administrated by the Temple since the Treaty of the Armistice, and except for a few Great House settlements sanctioned by the Temple, Vardenfell was previously uninhabited and underdeveloped. But when the centuries-old Temple ban on trade and settlement of Vardenfell was revoked by King of Morrowind, a flood of Imperial colonists and Great House Dunmer came to Vardenfell, expanding old settlements and building new ones. Oh, and that's where we are today. Wait, leaf on head? I don't have a leaf. I don't have a leaf in my... Sorry, you redeemed it, so I feel like I should get it, but... I'm gonna have to find, like, a leaf PNG, because I don't have anything like that. Hang on. I don't... Yeah. Hang on. Oh god, this website looks really scummy, I hope... Free template PDF! Print or save PDF... Maybe I should have just turned off all redeems, I'm sorry. Let me see if this will work. Okay, well I don't have a leaf. Let me see. Will you accept? Here, sorry, this is the best I can do. I do have this in my interface. This is the best I can do. Okay, let's see. The new district was divided into the new district being Vardenfell, I guess. Well, Vardenfell is a district, not it was like a whole island. The new district was divided into Redoran, Hlalu, Telvanni, and Temple districts, each separately administered by local house councils or temple priesthoods, and all under the advice and consent of Duke Dren and the district council in Ebonheart. Local law became a mixture of house law and imperial law in house districts, jointly enforced by house guards and legion guards, temple law and imperial law enforced in the temple district by ordinators. The temple was still recognized as the majority religion, but worship of the 9 divines was protected by the legions and encouraged by imperial cult missions. With the temple being the tribunal, right? No, the tribunal temple. Okay, the temple district included the city of Havek, fortress of Ghostgate, and all sacred and profane sites, including those bladed sites inside the Ghostgate, and all unsettled and wilderness areas on Vardenfell. In practice, this district included all parts of Vardenfell not claimed for Redoran, Hlalu, or Telvanni districts. Temples stubbornly fought all development in their district and were largely successful. Okay, so Vardenfell was split up between the houses, and it's not the houses and then it's the temple, and also the imperial law is still enforced here. You guys are paying attention, right? You guys are gonna remember this for the Morrowind quiz, right? Yes, I'm a tropical fairy today. Right. House Lalu, in combination with imperial colonists, embarked on a vigorous campaign of settlement and development. In the decades after reorganization, Balmora and the Ascadian Isles regions have grown steadily. Caldera and Pelagiad are completely new settlements, and all legion forts were expanded to accommodate larger garrisons. So House Lalu was doing a lot of construction. House Telvanni, normally conservative and I have to get better at reading. Conservative and isolationist has been surprisingly aggressive in expanding beyond their traditional tower villages, disregarding the protests of the other houses, the temple, the duke, and the district council. Telvanni pioneers have been encroaching on the wild lands reserved to the temple. The Telvanni Council officially disavows responsibility for these rogue Telvanni settlements, but it is an open secret that they are encouraged and supported by ambitious Telvanni mage lords. No, I'm not reading in the rain. I'm reading in a sheltered pavilion in the rain. These books are not wet. Hello, Taraku. Under pressure from the temple, conservative House Redoran has steadfastly resisted expansion in their district. As a result, House Redoran and the temple are in danger of being politically and economically marginalized by the more aggressive and expansionist Lalu and Telvanni interests. What is Redoran's thing anyway? I can't remember. Well, Lalu is commerce, Redoran is military, right? How come... I don't know. The Imperial administration faces many challenges in the Vardenfell district, but the most serious are the Great House rivalries, animosity from the Ashlander nomads, internal conflicts within the temple itself, and the Red Mountain Blight. Struggles between Great House, Temple, and Imperial interest to control Vardenfell's resource could at any time erupt into full-scale war. And the Ashlanders are the native people who are already living there, right? Ashlanders raid settlements, plunder caravans, and kill foreigners on their wild lands. The temple has unsuccessfully attempted to silence criticism and calls for reform within its ranks. Oh, okay. Stream dedicated to reading, yes! Oh, PG Pixels. Yes, just some chill reading I wanted to do for a while. This might be a little short, but we'll get some books read. The most serious are the plagues and diseased hosts produced by the blight storm sweeping out from Red Mountain. Vardenfell and all Morrowind have long been menaced by the legendary evils of Dagoth and his ash vampire kin dwelling beneath Red Mountain. Oh, also please tell me if I mispronounce anything. For centuries, the temple has contained this threat within the Ghost Fence, but recently the temple's resources and will have faltered, and the threat from Red Mountain has grown in scale and intensity. The Ghost Fence should fail, and hosts of blighted monsters were to spill out across Vardenfell's towns and villages. The Empire might have no choice but to evacuate Vardenfell district and abandon it to disease and corruption. Well, that would be terrible. Good thing we already defeated Dagoth. Then they won't have to worry about that. Okay, next book. Hang on, I'm gonna drink some water. Yes, it is a comfy way to spend a Sunday. I do like doing more comfy streams on Sunday. Alright, so that's just some review of Morrowind history. Now we can read some actual books, maybe? Alright, I got this one. Let's read. I have so many. Look at all these books I got. I just picked out some that seemed long enough to read on stream. How about... Let's do The Importance of Where. Ancient Tales of the Dwemer, Part 3 by Marabar Souls. And this is a story about the Dwemer, I guess? Unfortunately, I don't have Part 1 and 2. I didn't even know this was Part 3. Hang on, sorry, I gotta mute myself to cough for a sec. Oh, I didn't mute myself in time. Whoops, sorry. I can see the rain hitting those books. It's in your imagination, I swear. Hello, Nyarako. Alright, let's read about the importance of where. The chieftain of Othrobar gathered his wise men together and said, "Every morning the tenfold of my flock are found butchered. What is the cause?" Fangbith, the war leader, said, "A monster may be coming down from the mountain, devouring your flock." Gorik the healer said, "A strange new disease, perhaps is to blame." Baron the priest said, "We must sacrifice to the goddess for her to save us." What do you guys think it is? Is it the monster? Disease? Is it the lack of human sacrifice? The wise men made sacrifices, and while they waited for their answers from the goddess, Fangbith went to mentor Joltarek and said, "He taught me well how to forge the cudgel of Zolia, and how to wield it in combat, but I must know now when it is wise to use my skill. Do I wait for the goddess to reply, or the medicine to work, or do I hunt the monster which I know is in the mountain? When is not important, said Joltereg. Where is all that is important. So Fangbith took his Zolik cudgel, wait, what did I say? His Zolik cudgel in hand, and walked far through the dark forest until he came to the base of the great mountain. There he met two monsters, one bloodied with the flesh of the chieftain of Othrobar's flock, fought him while its mate fled. Fangbith remembered what his master had taught him, that where was all that was important. He struck the monster on each of its 5 vital points: head, groin, throat, back, and chest. 5 blows to the 5 points, and the monster was slain. Oh, this is just like Fallout. It was too heavy to carry with him, but still triumphant, Fangbith returned to Othrobar. I say, I have slain the monster that ate your flock, he cried. What proof have you that you have slain any monster? Asked the chieftain. I say, I have saved the flock with my medicine, said Gorik the healer. I say, the goddess has saved the flock by my sacrifices, said Baron the priest. 2 mornings went by, and the flocks were safe, but on the morning of the 3rd day, another tenfold of the chieftain's flock was found butchered. Gorik the healer went to his study to find a new medicine. Baron the priest prepared more sacrifices. Fangbith took his Zolik cudgel in hand again, and walked far through the dark forest until he came to the base of the great mountain. Wait, what mountain is this anyway? Where are we? Where is this taking place? There he met the other monster, bloodied with the flesh of the chieftain of Othrobar's flock. They did battle, and again Fangbith remembered that his master had taught him that where all that was important. He struck the monster 5 times on the head, and it fled. Chasing it along the mountain, he struck it 5 times in the groin, oh ouch, and it fled. Running through the forest, Fangbith overtook the monster and struck it 5 times in the throat, and it fled. Entering into the fields of Othrobar, Fangbith overtook the monster and struck it 5 times in the back, and it fled. At the foot of the stronghold, the chieftain and the wise men emerged to the sound of the monster wailing. There they beheld the monster that had slain the chieftain's flock. Fangbith struck the monster 5 times in the chest, and it was slain. What does this monster look like? A great feast was held in Fangbith's honor, and the flock of Othrobar was never again slain. Joltereg embraced his student and said, You have at last learned the importance of where you strike your blows. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like I learned any moral lesson from this story. Good for this guy. Good for this guy. Alright, publisher's note. This tale is another which has an obvious origin among the Ashlander tribes of Vardenfell, and is one of their oldest tales. Marabar Sul merely changed the names of the character to sound more dwarven. Oh, wait, it's not actually dwarven at all! And resold it as part of his collection. Oh, it's an Ashlander story. The great mountain in the tale is clearly Red Mountain. Despite its description of being forested, the starfall and later eruptions destroyed the vegetation on Red Mountain, giving it the wasted appearance it has today. This tale does have some scholarly interest, as it suggests a primitive Ashlander culture, but it talks of living in strongholds much like the ruined strongholds on Vardenfell today. There are even references to a stronghold of Othrobar, somewhere between Vardenfell and Skyrim, but few strongholds outside of sparsely settled Vardenfell have survived to the present. Scholars do not agree on who built these strongholds or when, but I believe it is clear from this story and other evidence that the Ashlander tribes used these strongholds in the ancient past, instead of making camps of wick-wheat huts as they do today. 5 shots at the groin, not an opener. I think it was at the head, but yeah. No, he's learning about doing critical damage. Yeah, he's learning how to do critical damage. You won't be gather at Jobasha's rare books. Yes, we're completing the book reading quest. The play on words that forms the lesson of the fable that it is as important to know where the monster should be slain at the stronghold as it is to know where the monster must be struck on its body to be slain, typical of many Ashlander tales. Riddles, even ones as simple as this one, are loved by both the Ashlanders and the banished Dwemer, although the Dwemer are usually portrayed as presenting the riddles, rather than being the ones who solve it, as in Ashlander tales. Okay, so I guess the riddle is like the importance of where, so where being location, but where also being body parts. Well, he hit it on like 5 different places on the body. I feel like he covered every body part, so I don't even know if that's... Okay, let's read Oh, I have so many books. Wait, this is another Ancient Tale of the Dwemer by Marabosel Part X. It's another one of them. Part 10, I guess. And this one was Part 3. Well, are there really 10 of these, like, throughout the game world? The Ancient Tales of the Dwemer. Okay. Yeah, we can continue. Let's do another Ancient Tale of the Dwemer. Alright, so this is the Dowry Ancient Tales of the Dwemer Part X by Marabar Sul. Yanale was the wealthiest landowner in Gunal. He had over the years saved a tremendous dowry for the man who would marry his daughter Genefra. When she reached the age of consent, he locked the gold away for safekeeping and announced his intent to have her marry. She was a comely lass, a scholar, a great athlete, but dour and brooding in aspect. This I'm gonna get better at reading, I promise. This is reading practice, yes. For the actual reading stream. This personality defect did not bother her potential suitors any more than her positive traits impressed them. Every man knew the tremendous wealth that would be his as the husband of Genefra and son-in-law of Yanale. That alone was enough for hundreds to come to Gunal to pay court. It was dour and brooding. The man who will marry my daughter, said Yanale to the assembled, must not be doing so purely out of avarice. He must demonstrate his own wealth to my satisfaction. This simple pronouncement removed a vast majority of the suitors who knew that they could not impress the landowner with their meager fortunes. A few dozen did come forward within a few days, clad in fine Killark cloth of spun silver, accompanied by exotic servants, traveling in magnificent carriages. Of all who came who met with Yanale's approval, none arrived in a more resplendent fashion than... Oop, that's a typo. Than Welyn Nyrillic. This young man, who no one had ever heard of, arrived in a shining ebon coach, drawn by a team of dragons, his clothing of rarest manufacture, and accompanied by an army of the most fantastical servants any of Gunal had ever seen. Wait, a team of dragons? Wait. Hold up a sec. Dragons? Just dragons? Really? Okay, I will accept this. I guess because, you know, it's supposed to be Dwemer. Maybe they have dragons. Valets with eyes on all sides of their heads? Maidservants that seemed cast in gemstones, but such was not enough with Yanale. The man who marries my daughter must prove himself an intelligent fellow, or I would not have an ignoramus as a son-in-law and business partner, he declared. This eliminated a large part of the wealthy suitors who, with their lives of luxury, had never needed to think very much, if at all. Still, some came forward over the next few days, demonstrating their wit and learning, quoting the great sages of the past, and offering their philosophies of metaphysics and alchemy. Welyn Nyrillic, too, came and asked Yanale to dine at the... I'm trying not to laugh at you. I'll read in your comments. Came and asked Yanale to dine at the villa he had rented outside of Gunal. There, the landowner saw scores of scribes working on translations of Aldmeri tracts, and enjoyed the young man's somewhat irreverent but intriguing intelligence. Nevertheless, though he was much impressed with Welyn Nyrillic, Yanale had another challenge. I love my daughter very much, said Yanale, and I hope that the man who marries her will make her happy as well. Should any of you make her smile, she and the great dowry are yours. The suitors lined up for days, singing her songs, proclaiming their devotion, describing her beauty in the most poetic of terms. Genefra merely glared in awe with hatred and melancholia. Yanale, who stood by her side, began to despair at last. His daughter's suitors were failing to a man at this task. Finally, Welyn Nyrillic came to the chamber. I will make your daughter smile, he said. I dare say I'll make her laugh, but only after you've agreed to marry us. If she is not delighted within 1 hour of our engagement, the wedding can be called off. Yanale turned to his daughter. She was not smiling, but her eyes had sparked with some morbid curiosity in this young man. As no other suitor had even registered that for her, he agreed. The dowry is naturally not to be paid till after you've wed, said Yanale. Being engaged is not enough. Might I see the dowry still? Asked Welyn. Knowing how fabled the treasure was, and understanding that this would likely be the closest the young man would come to possessing it, Yanale agreed. He had grown quite fond of Welyn. On his orders, Welyn, Yanale, Glum, Genefra, Castellan delved deep into the stronghold of Gunal. The first vault had to be opened by touching a series of runic symbols, Should one of the marks be mispressed, a volley of poisoned arrows would have struck the thief. Inale was particularly proud of the next level of security. The lock, composed of blades with 18 tumblers, required 3 keys to be turned simultaneously to allow entry. The blades were designed to eviscerate any who merely picked one of the locks. Finally, they reached the storeroom. It was entirely empty. "My Lord Khan, we've been burgled!" cried Yanale. "But how? Who could have done this?" "A humble, but, if I may say so, rather talented burglar," said Welland. "A man who has loved your daughter from afar for many years, but did not possess the glamour, or the learning to impress, that is, until the gold from her dowry afforded the opportunity." What a twist! "You?" bellowed Yanale, scarcely able to believe it. Then something even more unbelievable happened. Dwemer began to laugh. She had never dreamed of meeting anyone like this thief. She threw herself into his arms before her father's outraged eyes. After a moment, Yanale too began to laugh. Moral of the story: steal stuff so you can to impress people, to get married. Dwemer and Welland were married in a month's time. Though he was in fact quite poor and little scholarship, Yanale was amazed how much his wealth increased with such a son-in-law and business partner, only made certain never to ask from whence came the excess gold. That is the end of the story. Publisher's note: this is a Dwemer retelling of the movie Aladdin. No, this guy, he's just gonna take every story that exists and call it, this is a Dwemer retelling. This guy's just like a thief. Or maybe he's like the Shakespeare of Morrowind. He just writes a bunch of stuff and everyone attributes it to him. Alright. Actual publisher's note: the tale of a man trying to win the hand of a maiden, whose father, usually a wealthy man or a king, tests each suitor, is quite common. See, for instance, the more recent Four Suitors of Benita by Joel Yolives. I don't have this book for you guys to refer to. The behavior of the characters is quite out of character for the Dwemer. No one today knows their marriage customs, or even if they had marriage at all. Yeah, he just keeps making stuff up and saying it's Dwemer. One rather odd theory of the disappearance of the dwarves came from this and a few other tales of Merobar Sul. It was proposed that the Dwemer never in fact left, did not depart Nirn, much less the continent of Tamriel, and they are still among us, disguised. These scholars use the story of Azura and the box to suggest that the Dwemer feared Azura, a being they could neither understand nor control. And they adopted the dress and manner of Keimer and Altmer in order to hide from Azura's gaze. I know, it says among us, I know. It's that the Dwemer are actually among us. I've never heard this theory before, that the Dwemer didn't actually disappear and they're just here but disguised. I don't know. I'm not really convinced. I don't think this holds up. Alright, well, I actually do have the Azura and the box here. Yes, this is very suspicious indeed. Well, we can now— wait! This is another one of— this stream is now sponsored by this Merobar Sul guy, I guess. I didn't realize how many stories by him I had. Okay, we'll read Azura in the box, and then maybe I'll try to read something by a different author, you know, so... how many... no, I think... oh, see, this one is also Merobar Sul! How many books has this guy written? Okay, we will read Azura and the box. The next of the Ancient Tales of the Dwemer. Disclaimer, has nothing to do with Dwemer. Parts 11 by Merobar Sul. And after this, I will read a different book. Oh, hang on, I gotta... alright. The Chill Bar, is that it? Is that an E or a C? It's a C, right? The Chill Bar had enjoyed an adventurous youth, but had grown to be a very wise, very old Dwemer who spent his life searching for the truth and dispelling superstitions. He invented Dwemer, yeah, sure, sorry. He invented much and created many theorems and logic structures that bore his name, but much of the world still puzzled him, and nothing was a greater enigma to him than the nature of the Aedra and Daedra. Over the course of his research, he came to the conclusion that many of the gods were entirely fabricated by Man and Mer. Nothing, however, was a greater question to Nichilbar than the limits of divine power. Were the greater beings the masters of the entire world, or did the humbler creatures have the strength to forge their own destinies, As Nishilbar found himself nearing the end of his life, he felt he must understand this last basic truth. On, it stopped raining. Oh no, it didn't. Okay. Ah! Hang on. I feel like the rain sound was getting quieter. But if I quick load from here, yes, there we go. It's back. Okay. Yes, Harry Potter and the Chamber. Sorry, Harry Dwemer and the Chamber of Secrets. Yes, he's like Morrowind Agatha Christie. I like Agatha Christie. Maybe we should read Agatha Christie. Oh, hello, the castle. Yes, it's always fun to check out the different books in Morrowind. And when I'm streaming it, I always have to skip the books because it'll take too long to read. So I've rounded up some books to read today. Okay, let's continue the story. Among the sage's acquaintances was a holy Chimer priest named Athenic. When the priest was visiting Bithalag Zituriams, the Chilabar told him what he intended to do to find the nature of divine power. Athenic was terrified and pleaded with his friend not to break this great mystery. But Nichilbar was resolute. Finally, the priest agreed to assist out of love for his friend, though he feared the results of this blasphemy. Athenic summoned Azura. After the usual rituals by which the priest declared his faith in her powers, and Azura agreed to do no harm to him, Nichilbar and a dozen of his students entered the summoning chamber, carrying with them a large box. As we see you in our land, Azura, you are the goddess of the dusk and dawn, and all the mysteries therein, said Nichilbar, trying to appear as kindly and obsequious as he could be. It is said that your knowledge is absolute. So it is, smiled the Daitra. You would know, for example, what is in this wooden box, said Nichilbar. Azura turned to Athenic, her brow furrowed. The priest was quick to explain. Goddess, this Dwemer is a very wise and respected man. Believe me, please. The intention is not to mock your greatness, but to demonstrate it to this scientist and to the rest of his skeptical race. I have tried to explain your power to him, but his philosophy is such that he must see it demonstrated. If I am to demonstrate my might in a way to bring the Dwemer race to understanding, it might have been a more impressive feat you would have me do, growled Azura, and turned to look Nichilbar in the eyes. There is a red-petaled flower in the box. Nichilbar did not smile or frown. He simply opened the box, and revealed to all that it was empty. When the students turned to look to Azura, she was gone. Only Athenic had seen the goddess's expression before she vanished, and he could not speak, he was trembling so. A curse had fallen, he knew that truly, but even crueler was the knowledge of divine power that had been demonstrated. Nichilbar also looked pale, uncertain on his feet, but his face shone with not fear but bliss, the smile of a Dwemer, finding evidence for a truth only suspected. Oh, so is he basically proved that the gods are not all-knowing? Or the Daitra are not all-knowing? Wait, this isn't even real! This guy just made this up. We don't have proof that this is true. Alright, 2 of his students supported him, and 2 more supported the priest as they left the chamber. I have studied very much over the years, performed countless experiments, taught myself 1,000 languages, and yet the skill that has taught me finally taught me the truth. It's the one that I learned when I was but a poor young man, trying only to have enough gold to eat, whispered the sage. Oh, hello, Twin Lamp Sky. Yes, books. Do not be afraid. Be not afraid, it's just books. As he was escorted up the stairs to his bed, a red flower petal fell from the sleeve of his voluminous robe. Nichilbar died that night, a portrait of peace that comes from contented knowledge. Wait, why did he die? Wait, did he die? Did he just because he was old? He was wise and very old. So wait, he did some kind of magic trick to take the petal out of the box so that Azura wouldn't know, and she killed him. No, he was really old. Azura wouldn't do that. I mean, she might. Me and the lads playing rock, paper, scissors and damning ourselves out of existence. Yeah, well, he's trying to... Don't mess with the Azura. Well, I mean, he could have died. He could have died from old age, that's true, I think. Alright, let's read the publisher's note. Hang on, I gotta drink some water. Okay. This is another tale whose origin is unmistakably Dwemer. Again, the words of some Aldmeri's translations are quite different, but the essence of the story is the same. The Dunmer have a similar story about Nishilvar, but in the Dunmer version, Azura recognizes the trick and refuses to answer the question. She slays the Dwemer present for their skepticism and curses the Dwemer for blasphemy. Okay, wait, this is the Dwemer. Okay, he wasn't lying. This is actually a Dwemer story. In the Aldmeris versions, Azura is tricked not by an empty box, but by a box containing a sphere which somehow becomes a flat square. Of course, the Aldmeris versions, being a few steps closer to the original Dwemer, are much more difficult to understand. Perhaps this stage magic explanation was added by Gore Fellum because of Fellum's own experience with such tricks in his plays when a mage was not available. Marobar Sul left even the character of Nishilvar alone, and he represents many Dwemer virtues. His skepticism, while not nearly as absolute as in the Aldmeris version, is celebrated even though it brings a curse upon the Dwemer and the unnamed house of the poor priest. Oh, he was cursed. Okay. Well, Azura also cursed... Azura is the one who cursed everybody to become Dunmer anyway, so she can curse people. Yeah. Whatever the true nature of the gods and how right or wrong Dwemer were about them, this tale might explain why the dwarves vanished from the face of Tamriel. I swear I can read. Though Nishilvar and his kind may not have intended to mock the Aedra and Daedra, their skepticism certainly offended the divine orders. Okay, thank you, publisher's notes. These are helping me understand the story. So, she was tricked by she basically was tricked by a magic trick. I see. Don't mess with the Daedra. Yeah. You know, the desire for knowledge causes us to mess with things beyond our understanding. It's like a typical Lovecraft thing, you know. Okay. What should we read next? Maybe a less than depressing story, but... Wait a sec. This is another... Okay, how many ancient tales of the Dwemer? Every time I open a book, it's this guy. Okay, we have to take a break from this guy. No more Marobar Sul. This one is also... Wait, why do I only have the ancient... I'm sorry, guys. This is not an Ancient Tales of the Dwemer reading stream. Or at least I didn't really intend it to be. I swear. I didn't intend it to be. This one's long. Okay, let's do a non-story. Let's read about ancestors in the Dunmer for a little bit. Mysterious colors, unlike any seen on Earth. You know, I can see some kind of Lovecraft stuff in Morrowind. Are those on the Seydanine Lighthouse? It's okay, it's okay. There's a roof. There's a roof on the Seydanine Lighthouse. Yes, this is the Seydanine Lighthouse. I just thought it would be cozy because there's a fire here. But when the rain is on, you can't hear the crackling sound. Or at least you can't hear it very well. Okay, let's read Ancestors and the Dunmer. Dude loved his stories. Yeah, he wrote at least 11 of them. See, I might not even have all of them. There might be more. By Marobar Sul. Okay. No, the raining is purposeful because it sounds more comfy when it's raining, right? Let's read about Ancestors and the Dunmer. Let's learn more about the Dunmer in Morrowind. The ghosts walk among them. The departed spirits of the Dunmeri, and perhaps those of all races, persist after death. Wait, this doesn't even have an author. The knowledge and power of departed ancestors benefits the bloodlines of Dunmeri houses. The bond between the living family members and immortal ancestors is partly blood, partly ritual, partly volitional. A member brought into the house through marriage finds himself, through ritual and oath, into the clan, and gains communication and benefits from the clan's ancestors. However, his access to the ancestors is less than his offspring, and he retains some access to the ancestors of his own bloodline. The family shrine. Each resident has a family shrine. In poorer homes, it may be no more than a hearth or alcove, where family relics are displayed and venerated. In wealthy homes, a room is set aside for the use of the ancestors. This shrine is called the Waiting Door, and represents the door to Oblivion. Yeah, you guys know about Oblivion, right? Here, the family members pay their respects to their ancestors through sacrifice and prayer, through oaths sworn upon duties, and through reports on the affairs of the family. In return, the family may receive information, training, and blessings from the family's ancestors. The ancestors, they actually get to hear from the ancestors. The ancestors are thus the protectors of the home, and especially the precincts of the waiting door. The ghost fence. It is a family's most solemn duty to make sure their ancestors' remains are interred properly in a city of the dead such as Necrom. Here the spirits draw comfort from one another against the chill of the mortal world. However, as a sign of great honor and sacrifice, an ancestor may grant that part of his remains be retained to serve as part of a ghost fence for protecting the clan's shrine and family precincts. Oh, so not the big ghost fence around Red Mountain? The little ghost fence? Such an arrangement is often part of the family member's will that a knucklebone shall be saved out of his remains and incorporated with solemn magic and ceremony into a clan ghost fence. In more exceptional cases, an entire skeleton or even a preserved corpse may be bound into a ghost fence. Wait, so you become a fence? Your soul becomes a fence? No, I mean it's just your body, I guess. Okay, that's actually new because I didn't know. I thought the ghost fence was just the one at Red Mountain. I didn't know it was a whole thing. Alright. These remains become a beacon and focus for ancestral spirits, and for the spirit of the remains in particular. The more remains used to make a ghost fence, the more powerful the fence is, and the most powerful mortals in life have the most powerful remains. The great ghost fence created by the tribunal to hold back the blight incorporates the bones of many heroes of the temple and of the houses Indral and Redoran, who dedicated their spirits to the temple and clan as their surrogate families. The ghost fence also contains bones taken from the catacombs of Necrom and the catacombs? And the many battlefields of Morrowind. Oh, I see. Okay, so the Great Ghost Fence is a specific ghost fence to hold back the blight on Red Mountain. Yes, I guess, you know, for this specific ghost fence, they really needed to hold back the blight, so they couldn't ask people for permission, like, can we take your family's bones to put in our fence? But yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about my bones being used for a fence either. Yes, Oblivion 2006. The Mortal Chill. Spirits do not like to visit the mortal world, and they do so only out of duty and obligation. Spirits tell us that the other world is more pleasant, or at least more comfortable for spirits, than our real world, which is cold, bitter, and full of pain and loss. Mad spirits. Spirits that are forced to remain in our world against their will may become mad spirits or ghosts. Some spirits are bound to this world because of some terrible circumstances of their death, or because of some powerful emotional bond to a person, place, or thing. These are called hauntings. Oh, they're just ghosts. It's just regular ghosts. Some spirits are captured and bound to enchanted items by wizards. If the binding is involuntary, the spirit usually goes mad. The willing spirit may or may not retain its sanity depending on the strength of the spirit and the wisdom of the enchanter. I see. Wait, I have some spirits bound to enchanted stuff. I guess, it was done well so they don't go mad. Memento Mori is a good mod that adds shrines, which show the results of Ghost Fence's creation and usage. Oh, interesting. Some spirits are bound against their wills to protect family shrines. This unpleasant fate is reserved for those who have not served the family faithfully in life. Dutiful and honorable ancestral spirits often aid in the capture and binding of wayward spirits. This is terrible! Wait, this actually sucks! These spirits usually go mad and make terrifying guardians. They are ritually prevented from harming mortals of their clans, but that does not necessarily discourage them from mischievous or peevish behavior. They are exceedingly dangerous for intruders. At the same time, if an intruder can penetrate the spirit's madness and play upon the spirit's resentment of his own clan, the angry spirits may be manipulated. Also, if you can get the spirits who want to get revenge. I see. Yes, your afterlife will be dedicated to being security. Yeah, it's nice how some of the books explain in-game mechanics. Oh hey, Oblivion! You guys wanted to talk about... We were talking about Oblivion, right? Alright, let's talk about Oblivion. The existence of Oblivion is acknowledged by all Tamriel cultures, but there is little agreement on the nature of that other world, other than it is the place where the Aedra and Daedra live, and that communication and travel are possible between this world and Oblivion through magic and ritual. The Dunmer do not emphasize the distinction between this world and Oblivion as do the human cultures of Tamriel. They regard our world and the other world as a whole, with many paths from one end to the other, rather than two separate worlds of different natures with distinct borders. This philosophical This philosophical viewpoint may account for the greater affinity of elves for magic and its practices. Ah, okay, so because the Dunmer are more in tune with the other worlds, they have more affinity for magic. I think it's what it's trying to say here. Okay, next section. Foreign views of Dunmer's ancestor worship and spirit magic. The Altmeri and Bosmeri cultures also venerate their ancestors, but only by respecting the orderly and blissful passage of the spirits from this world to the next. That is, Wood Elves and High Elves believe it is cruel and unnatural to encourage the spirits of the dead to linger in our world. Wait, didn't the Dunmer come from the Altmer and Bosmer? No, they came from the Chimer? Oh god, we need a book about elves. We need a book about elves. I think they came from the Chimer, actually. So Altmer and Bosmer are totally different things. Yeah, like Wood Elves are totally different things, for sure, from the Dunmer. I just got confused because it says elves. Alright, even more grotesque and repugnant is the display of the bodily remains of ancestors in ghost fences and ash pits. The presentation of finger bones in a family shrine, for example, is sacrilegious to the Bosmer who eat their dead. Oh, I see. And barbaric to the Altmer who inter their dead. That means bury, I'm pretty sure. The human cultures of Tamriel are ignorant and fearful of dark elves and their culture, considering them to be inhuman and evil like orcs and Argonians, but more sophisticated. The human populations of Tamriel associate Dunmeri ancestor worship and spirit magic with necromancy. I'm sorry, I should turn off my Windows alerts. No, I don't want to turn on Windows backup. I'm sorry for interrupting this. No, Windows, go away, Windows. Why did you interrupt my reading stream? I need to figure out how to separate audio sources so you guys can't hear anything random on my desktop. The Dark Elves would never think of practicing sorcerous necromancy upon any Dark Elf or upon the remains of any elf. However, Dark Elves consider the human and orcish races to be little more than animals. There is no injunction against necromancy upon such remains, or on the remains of any animal, bird, or insect. Imperial policy officially recognizes the practices of Dunmeri ancestor veneration and spirit magic as a religion, and protects their freedom to pursue such practices so long as they do not threaten the security of the Empire. Privately, most Imperial officials and traders believe Dark Elf ancestor worship and displays of remains are barbaric or even necromantic. Necromantic. Yes, I've saw Windows. Why? No threats detected. Yeah, at least my Windows is functioning. Alright, Telvanni necromancy. The Telvanni are adept masters of necromancy. They do not, however, practice necromancy upon the remains of Dark Elves. Sane Telvanni regard such practices with loathing and righteous anger. They do practice necromancy among the remains of animals, and upon the remains of humans, orcs, and Argonians, who are technically no more than animals in Morrowind. I see how it is. Publisher's note. This book was written by an unknown scholar as a guide for foreign visitors to Morrowind shortly after the armistice was signed. Many of these practices have since fallen into disfavor. The most obvious changes are those regarding the practice of necromancy and the Great Ghost Fence. Dunmer today regard necromancy upon any of the accepted races as an abomination. Okay, yeah. Good to hear, yes. The Ghost Fence has forced many changes in the practice of ancestor worship, with the vast majority of ancestors' remains going to strengthen the Great Ghost Fence around the mountain of Dagoth-Ur. There are very few clan ghost fences in Morrowind. The temple discourages such practices among the houses as selfish. The upkeep of family tombs and private waiting room doors has also fallen into disfavor, as very few remains have been buried in these tombs and shrines since the armistice. Oh, that's all the tombs and shrines that we can go around and loot stuff from all over Morrowind. In recent years, most Dunmer venerate a small portion of their ancestors' remains kept at a local temple. Oh, the mountain of Dagoth-Ur. Yes, Dagoth-Ur, who lives in the house called Dagoth-Ur on the mountain called Dagoth-Ur. Necromancy on Argonians acceptable. No, it's not acceptable anymore. It's no longer acceptable. It has fallen into disfavor. Yeah, I thought of that song when I read necromancy. Okay, well, we learned a lot about ancestor worship in the Dunmer. And that's why all the family tombs are deserted, because Everybody's bodies just get buried in the great ghost fence. I didn't. That's really morbid. I didn't know the ghost fence was made up of people's bodies like that. Actually. All right, what should we read next? Actually, yeah, I gotta drink some more water. Hey, what time is it? 3 a.m. We keep waiting. The sun might go up. No, I think when I read, time freezes. I want to do a more cheerful. I want to read a more cheerful book. All right. Well, here's a poem. All right. So let's read this poem, Tavern Song. Yes, the ghost fence is made of actual ghosts. Wait, it's been in the name all this time. What? How did I not realize? It's a fence made out of ghosts. It was that obvious. Alright, so we're gonna read more of everybody's favorite author, Marrow Soul. This is the Song of the Alchemist from Ancient Tales of the Dwemer. Oh, I see. There are the Aldmer, which spread from the Somerset Isles and split into Altmer, Dunmer, and Bosmer. Well, the Dunmer were Khmer before, though, right? The Aldmer claim to be descendants of the Aedra. Okay, thank you, yes. Yeah, I knew they all came from the Somerset Isles. I didn't know about the Aldmer, though. Yeah, so they all did come from the same source originally. Okay, I get it. Why did the Bosmer eat people anyway? Isn't that kind of weird? Alright, let's read this. When King Smeranius Alchemist had to leave his station after a laboratory experiment that yielded detonation. The word went out that the king did want a new savant to mix his potions and brews, but he declared he would only choose a fellow who knew the tricks and the tools. The king refused to hire on more fools. After much deliberation, discussion, and debates, the king picked 2 well-learned candidates. The Anthropus Minthirk and Emphatic Fair, an ambitious pair. To prove which one was the best, said the king, there will be a test. They went to a large chamber with herbs, gem tomes, pots, measuring cups all under high crystalline domes. Make me a tonic that will make me invisible, laughed the king in a tone some would call risible. The Emphatic Fair and the Anthropus Minthirk began to work, mincing herbs, mashing metal, refining strange oils, cautiously setting their cauldrons to burbling boils, each on his own, sending mixing bowls mixing, sometimes peeking to see what the other was fixing. After they had worked for nearly 3/4 an hour, both the Anthropus Minthirk and Emphatic Fair, does that rhyme, winked at the other, certain he won. Said King Moranion, now you must taste the potions you've wrought. Take a spoon and sample it right from your pot. Minthirk vanished as his lips touched his brew, but Fair tasted his and remained apparent in view. You think you mixed silver, blue diamonds, and yellow grass? The king laughed. Look up, Fair, up to the ceiling glass. The light falling makes the ingredients you choose quite different hues. What do you get? Asked the floating voice bold. Of a potion of red diamonds, blue grass, and gold. By Dwemer God. It's like censored. By Dwemer God, said Fair, his face in a wince. I've made a potion to fortify my own intelligence. So he put in the wrong ingredients because there was like a color filter from the ceiling. Interesting. Wait, so what's the test? Make me a tonic that will make me invisible. Oh, I can't believe I forgot. Okay, yeah. So Minthirk did it right. He made himself invisible, but Fair messed up, and he made an intelligence fortify intelligence potion. He messed up. Show them who's the boss. I get it. All right, so publisher's note. This poetry is so clearly in the style of Gore Fellum that it really does not need any commentary. Note the simple rhyming scheme of AABBCC, the sing-song but purposely clumsy meter, and the recurring jokes are the obviously absurd names. Are they? Are they obviously absurd? Emphatic Fair and Eanthropus Minthirk. The final joke that the stupid alchemist invents a potion to make himself smarter by pure accident would have appealed to the anti-intellectualism of audiences in the interregnum period. You guys know what that means, right? But would certainly be rejected by the Dwemer. Note that even Marrow Soul refuses to name any Dwemer gods. a Dwemer religion, if it can even be called that. You know, I'm really entertained by how it just says, by Dwemer God. It's just like in brackets there. Dunmer religion is one of the most complex and difficult puzzles of their culture. Over the millennia, the song became a popular tavern song in High Rock, before eventually disappearing from everything but the scholarly books, much like the Dunmer themselves. Excuse me. Wait, okay, maybe I can try to sing it. When King Sperania's alchemist had to leave his station after a laboratory experiment that yielded detonation, word went out that the king didn't. No, I can't do this. The Bosmer made the green pact with their god of vegetation. God of vegetation, Yefur. Says they cannot harm or consume vegetation? What? Aren't they supposed to be wood elves? With the Bosmer are the wood elves, right? Aren't the Altmer are high elves, so the Bosmer must be the wood elves. Oh wait, I think I messed up. It's Zura's Coast region. Okay. It will probably start raining soon. For now, we'll enjoy the sound of the fireplace. You guys can enjoy the sound of the fireplace. What can we read next? I don't know if I'll read that many more books yet. Because, it's just gonna be a short stream. Don't stress my voice too much. Ransom of Zarek. Oh, okay, let's read. I can't believe it. This really is gonna be a Marabar Soul stream. You gotta be bouncy between syllables like a sea shanty. You know, I think we could do it. I lack the skill. 4 AM now. Yeah, the weather is taking some time to change. Alright, it's okay. I'll just read something. Yeah, well, let's read the very first of the Ancient Tales of the Dwemer by Marabar Sul, The Ransom of Zarek. You didn't grab the pillow book, did you? It might be somewhere in my house. No, I didn't grab it though. But isn't that just like 1 page long? No, wait. Boethia's pillow book is not 1 page long. I think of something else. Yeah, Bosmer lore sounds interesting. I wonder if I can find a Bosmer lore book. Oh, so because they love trees so much, that's why they can't. Can you guys hear the fire crackling sound? I'm gonna turn up effects a little bit. There we go. Oh, that's better. That's better. Okay. Alright. Dalamil stood... Alright, we got this story. The Ransom of Zarek. Dalamil stood in her garden and read the letter her servant had brought to her. The bouquet of joss roses in her hand fell to the ground. For a moment, it was as if all birds had ceased to sing, and a cloud had passed over the sky. Her carefully cultivated and structured haven seemed to flood with darkness. We have thy son, it read. We will be in touch with thee shortly with our ransom demands. Oh, there is a Bosmer lore book of Dance in Fire. Oh, thank you for letting me know. Generic username name. I don't know why the Bosmer shrunk by 2 whole feet. Okay, a Dance in Fire. Wait, I'll write it down. Yeah, now I'm curious about the Bosmer lore. Alright, so this lady has her son being ransomed. Zarek had never made it as far as Atgun after all. One of the brigands on the road, orcs probably, or a cursed Dunmer, must have seen his well-appointed carriage and taken him hostage. Dalamil clutched at a post for support, wondering if her boy had been hurt. He was but a student, not the sort to fight against well-armed man, but had they beaten him? It was more than a mother's heart could bear to imagine. Don't tell me they sent the ransom note so quickly, called a family voice, and a familiar face appeared through the hedge. It was Zarek. Dalamil hurried to embrace her boy, tears running down her face. What happened? She cried. I thought thou had been kidnapped. Shouldn't it be thou hast been kidnapped? Thou hastest been kidnapped. I was, said Zarek. 3 huge soaring Nords, attacked by carriage on the Frimborn Pass. Brothers, as I learned, named Matthias, Ulin, and Kurg. Thou should have seen these men, mother. Each one of them would have had trouble fitting through the front door, I can tell thee. What happened? Dalamil repeated. Were thou rescued? Wast thou rescued? I was just thinking of I feel like this is not proper Old English. I thought about waiting for that, but I knew they'd send off a ransom note, and I know how thou does worry. Shouldn't it be dost worry? So I remembered what my mentor at Akgun's always said about remaining calm, observing thy surroundings, and looking for thy opponent's weakness. Zarek grinned. It took a while though, because these fellows were truly monsters, and then when I listened to them bragging to one another, I realized that vanity was their weakness. They had me chained to their camp in the woods, not far from Kyle, on a high knoll overlooking a wide river. I heard one of them, Korg, telling the others that it would take the better part of an hour to swim across the river and back. They were nodding in agreement when I spoke up. I could swim that river and back in 30 minutes, I said. Impossible, said Korg. I can swim faster than a little whelp like thee. So it was agreed that we would dive off the cliff, swim to the center island, and return. As we went to our respective rocks, Korg took it upon himself to lecture me about all the fine points of swimming, the importance of synchronized movements of the arms and legs for maximum speed, how essential it was to breathe after only third or fourth stroke, not too often to slow thyself down, but not too often to lose one's air. I nodded and agreed to all his fine points. Then we dove off the cliff. I made it to the island and back in a little over an hour, but Korg never returned. He had dashed his brains at the rocks at the base of the cliff. I had noticed the telltale undulations of underwater rocks, and had taken the diving rock on the right. "But thou returned?" asked Jalemel, astounded. "Was that not when thou escaped?" "It was too risky to escape then," said Zarek. "They could easily have caught me again, and I wasn't keen to be blamed for Korg's disappearance. I said I did not know what happened to him, and after some searching they decided he had forgotten about the race and had swum ashore to hunt for food. I could not see how I could have had anything to do with his disappearance, as fully visible as I was throughout my swim." The two brothers began making camp along the rocky cliff edge, picking an ideal location so that I would not be able to escape. One of the brothers, Matthias, began commenting on the quality of the soil and the gradual incline of the rock that circled around the bay below. Ideal, he said, for a foot race. I expressed my ignorance of the sport, and he was keen to give me details of the proper technique for running such a race. He made absurd faces showing how one must breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, how to bend one's knees to the proper angle on the rise, the importance of sure foot placement. And he's just correcting his form, his running form. Most important, he explained, was that the runner keep an aggressive but not too strenuous pace if one intends to win. It is fine to run in second place through the race, he said, provided one has the willpower and strength to pull out in the end. I was an enthusiastic student, and Matthias decided that we ought to run a quick race around the edge of the bay before night fell. Olin told us to bring some firewood when we came back. We began at once down the path, skirting the cliff below. I followed his advice about breath, gait, and foot placement, but I ran with all my power right from the start. Despite his much longer legs, I was a few paces ahead as we rounded the first corner. With his eyes on my back, Matthias did not see the gape in the rock that I jumped over. He plummeted over the cliff before he had a chance to cry out. I spent a few minutes gathering some twigs, before I returned to Ulin at camp. "Now thou were just showing off," frowned Jalemel. "Surely that would have been a good time to escape." "This guy is a murderer. He could have just escaped and not, killed all these guys." "Thou might think so," agreed Zarek, "but thou had to see the topography, a few large trees, and then nothing but shrubs. Ulin would have noticed my absence and caught up with me in no time, and I would have had a hard time explaining Matthias's absence. However, the brief forage around the area allowed me to observe some of the trees close up, and I could formulate my final plan. When I got back to camp with a few twigs, I told Ulin that Matthias was slow coming along, dragging a large dead tree behind him. Ulin scoffed at his brother's strength, saying it would take him time to pull up a live tree by the roots and drop it on the bonfire. I expressed reasonable doubt. "I'll show thee," he said, ripping up a 10-foot-tall specimen effortlessly. "But that's scarcely a sapling," I objected. "I thought thou could rip up a tree." His eyes followed mine to a magnificent, heavy-looking one at the edge of a clearing. Ulin grabbed it and began to shake it with a tremendous force to loosen its roots from the dirt. With that, he loosened the hive from the uppermost branches, dropping it down upon his head. Okay, these guys are just... "That was when I made my escape, mother," said Zarek, in conclusion, showing a little schoolboy pride, while Matthias and Korg were at the base of the cliff, and Ulin was flitting about engulfed by a swarm. Oh, bees fell on his head? Did bees fall on his head? Publisher's note. Hang on, I gotta drink some water. Where did I put that? Yeah, honestly, these guys were not super smart. This reminds me of... I don't know, some nursery rhyme style story. Like the Three Little Pigs or something. Publisher's note. I was reluctant to publish the works of... Oh, also hello, Voig. I was reluctant to publish the works of Marrobar Sul, but when the University of Gwylem Press asked me to edit this edition, I decided to use this as an opportunity to set the record straight once and for all. Scholars do not agree on the exact date of Marrobar Sul's work, but it is generally agreed that they were written by the playwright Gore Phelim, famous for popular comedies and romances during the interregnum between the fall of the First Cyrodiilic Empire and the rise of Tiber Septim. Okay, so this Marrobar Sul guy is a pen name for the playwright Gore Phelim. It really is Shakespeare. It really is Morrowind Shakespeare. The current theory holds that Phelim heard a few genuine Dwemer tales and adapted them to the stage in order to make money, along with rewritten versions of many of his own plays. Gore Phelim created the persona of Marrobar Sul, who could translate the Dwemer language, in order to add some sort of validity to the work and make it even more valuable to the gullible. Note that while Marrobar Sul and his works became the subject of heated controversy, there are no reliable records of anyone actually meeting Marrobar Sul, nor was there anyone of that name employed by the Mages Guild, the School of Julianos, or any other intellectual institution. In any case, the Dwemer in most of the tales of Marrobar Sul bear little resemblance to the fearsome, unfathomable race that frightened even the Dunmer, Nords, and Redguards into submission and built ruins that, even now, have yet to be understood. Alright, yeah, that was some Marrobar Sul lore for you guys. That is, one of the most famous writers of Morrowind. I don't know, maybe he is. Maybe he's one of the most, famous writers of Morrowind. We actually got through a lot of Marrobar Sul tales and some educational stories as well. But yes, I did actually only intend to stream to be like an hour long because I'm not. I can't really go for that long. Just reading only. Yeah, it'll be a little shorter today. Yes. So thank you, although it was short. Thank you for stopping by my reading stream. I do appreciate it. Let me see one sec. Yeah, it was pretty fun. It's just to read stuff, and actually it was nice to get to learn about like Dunmer and Morrowind lore and stuff. I didn't actually know some of the stuff that we read about today. Alright, yes, I'll see you in the future if we can do more kind of streams like not ASMR adjacent streams like this maybe, but yes, that will be it for now. So have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, evening, morning, etc. And yeah, I'll stream Morrowind again this Wednesday. So bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.